So we have started the date and contemplation, date and talk based contemplation, which is primarily on the Jagat Utpatti chapter in Tattvabodha. So Saravananji, do you want to quickly review what we have done in our last session, and then we can continue our contemplation today?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, Vijayji. So last week we started on the different ways we get knowledge, right? And initially the first three, there are three common ways that we were introduced to. One is paroksha, which is belief based, and anumana, which is inference, and pratyaksha, which is direct, using the sense organs. Right? Just to give example, if we talk about God to common man, his knowledge of God is based on the belief that, like, yeah, there is some God, which the community talks about. But have you seen God? Have you experienced God? You'll not have an answer, right? Anumana is something like based on an inference. Like you do experiment, and from there you infer that, okay, this should be the thing, right? Or another good example usually given in our scriptures is, if you see a smoke, you infer that there is fire, right? That is another way to get a knowledge, right? The third is the pratyaksha, where like you use your direct sense organs to infer. There is, I see a fire directly with my eyes, right? Are these the only three ways? This is where
Saravananji, are you there? Padmaji, can you hear?
No, sir. I think his screen is frozen. I thought it was my connection problem.
Yeah, correct. Even I, that's why I was wondering.
I think he lost his connection.
Yeah. So we'll have him get back. Meanwhile, so where are you with respect to the date and?
Yes, sir. I have also taken notes on this.
Okay.
And also, like, what is the world made up of? The five sense organs and the organs of action. All this together. That.
Okay,
in
you've
that
gone
I have
into
come.
that, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'll pause the recording. We'll give it 2-3 more minutes.
Yeah, for him to connect back.
Yeah, please continue, Saravananji.
Yeah, so I started talking about the three common experiences we all have to know something, which is like starting with paroksha, anumana, and pratyaksha. The examples we given is paroksha is about have you seen God, right? If you ask a common man, and the answer is yeah, there is a God, which is what we have always been introduced to, but I have not seen or I have not experienced. But there should be someone who has created all this, right? That's a belief-based knowledge. Anumana, if you come, like it's science, the usual way science comes to a conclusion. Do something and like from that infer a result, like, and get the knowledge, right? A good example given in our scriptures for Anumana is fire and smoke. If you see smoke, you infer that there should be fire, right? So you don't need to see the fire, but you can infer by seeing the smoke. And pratyaksha is like based on the direct sense organs knowledge, that I see the fire, so I say that like there is fire, right? So are these the only three types of ways to know something? That is where like we are introduced to this aparoksha anubhuti, where the good example to explain, the good example given is in a dark room. If someone comes and asks me like, are you there? And to answer this question, like, am I there? I don't need to believe that I should be there. I don't need to infer from something that I should be there. I don't need any of my sense organs to infer that to say that I should be there. I am there. The answer comes directly that I am there. and it's based on the direct knowledge, or like I don't need anything else. It's my own awareness, self-awareness, right? This is where the self comes into picture, and where we can say that it's self-luminous. I don't need to have any other tool or system to answer this question of am I there, right? So this is where Aparoksha Anubhuti is introduced, right? Now, why this is introduced, right? If you see the question of like how which one of the four ways to know something is more powerful, if you see, right? The one that is very strongly answered is the Aparoksha. So if I know something through Aparoksha Anubhuti, it is like unwavering, very strong answer that I am there, right? Paroksha, if you take, it is a belief. So I have not seen, so I am not sure. Anumana, it's based on, like, again, we are trying to infer from something, and it's always possible that the root cause can be something else. So our knowledge can be inaccurate, right? Pratyaksha, we know that we have seen from the previous chapter, our sense organs themselves, they have limitations. So if you use a limited instrument, what we come to know is again limited. Like, do I hear all the things? No, there is a range. That is the only range I hear, which means if I use my sense organs as the primary instrument, I will be wrong, right? If I take the eyes, they can only see certain distance, certain things, right? So, and we have seen many examples like sunrise. We know that if you rely on the eyes, you say that like I am always there, and like sun comes up and down. But if by research we have come to know that that is not the case. So the sense organs cannot be reliably used. So this is where the importance of the Aparoksha Anubhuti is being introduced. That if you know, like if you want to know it by yourself directly, instead of relying on the other ways. That is where the next video video shot takes us to T52. Right. So if you look at the summary here, if you the best way to experience, the best way to know is the Aparoksha Anubhuti. And if you, and this is where the next question comes: can I learn everything? Can I know everything through Aparoksha Anubhuti? Right? And our subject here is to know about us and the world. Right? Can I learn? Can I know about this? And the answer given is that is what we are all going towards. But if you cannot experience, then like you will have to go through one of the three paths given: the karma yoga, or bhakti yoga, or jnana yoga, right? Because the way we know about the common man knows about himself or herself is like, I am this body mind, right? And how do we correct that thing? Because that who are you answer comes from using the senses, saying like, I can see myself, so I should be this body, right? Now how do we correct it? That is where the Aparoksha Anubhuti is needed, right? But it's not possible for everyone to understand this, right? So let me just take one point here. When it comes to the answer that I am there, I can, because I can feel myself there, even that feel is an experience, right? That has come, which was not there when I was asleep, right? So the point of experience is also now given, that don't completely rely only on the experiences. The experiences also come and go to the one that always has to be. If experience has to come, that means there has to be one which should be always there, right? So even that experience part has been highlighted here, that do not only rely on the experience as well, which is something that comes and goes, but the experiencer is always there all the time, right? So maybe I will stop here to take questions, and would like to know how my explanation is been so far.
Wonderful. Thank you, Saravanan-ji.
Yeah.
Hari Om, Satyaji.
Hari Om, Satyaji.
Hari Om, Vijayji.
So we've started contemplation on the date and talks. And Saravanan-ji has been taking notes. If you know how it's organized in Tattva Bodha by Prabhuji, the date and talk itself has been broken into smaller subtopics. So by subtopic, Saravanan-ji has taken notes, and that is what we're currently using as a basis for our discussion. So we've begun with first, the first subtopic, which is what are the ways of knowledge? What are the ways of experience that comes into you? So he just now gave his explanation for Paroksha, Anumana, Pratyaksha, and Aparoksha. Maybe we can, each one can also say what your understanding of these 4 ways of knowledge or experience, and then we'll take the next step. And if there are any questions, we can discuss them also. Padmaji, do you like to next share your understanding of what these 4 are? Is there any other point you would like to add?
No, sir. Actually, I also had the similar way. Actually, Saravanan-ji put it very well. He explained it really very well with examples and all. All the 4 ways of knowing. And yeah, one thing that I had written is Aparoksha Anubhuti is something which is independent of anything else. That is, it is not dependent on time, space, or sense organs, and the knowledge is direct and intuitive. So the next is, I think the world is where I had a lot of questions coming in.
Yeah,
so this part
take
is
them up.
relatively very clear is what I felt. Yeah.
Okay. How about Satyaji? Has Satyaji gone through these sessions?
Not much, Vijayji. But yeah, I clearly understand this Paroksha and Aparoksha. Because anything we believe through the sense organs or experience through the sense organs or through the mind or through the world is outside. But there is something which it is, I mean, totally our own consciousness or awareness that is always there. And that is not an experience, because every experience again needs a knower, a knowing, the knowing principle. So this, it is the awareness of the self, so which is always there. So I could clearly understand that.
So fundamentally, you are saying there are only 2 ways. One is Paroksha, another one is Aparoksha.
Yeah.
And then the Pratyaksha and Anumana are kind of like sub categories of Paroksha.
Yeah, because there are many things that we see and we learn and we believe, but everything is only external. The only thing that goes internally is the Aparoksha Anubhuti. And it is even to know that there is an experience, there is this consciousness or awareness that is required. So that is I.
Okay. And does that statement make sense to Padmaji and Saravanan-ji, that there is only Paroksha and Aparoksha, and Pratyaksha and Anumana are part of nothing but Paroksha? Is that acceptable?
So yeah, so the way I think I will, you can say in one way, because Anumana and Pratyaksha, you can put it under Paroksha if you say that they are also belief based, in the sense like, I believe my sense organs, so I'm going to rely on what the sense organs say. The same way the inference, like I have seen it once that smoke was there when there was a fire. So I believe that there will be smoke always due to only fire, right? That is a belief which is wrong, right? So in that way, you can club it under paroksha if you if
The
you in
Sanskrit
different.
word paroksha, does the Sanskrit word paroksha literally translate to belief?
Yeah, that will be good to know. I don't know what it points to.
So paroksha, so it is external.
External. Okay.
That's what it just generally means.
I don't think it is the same, sir. I don't think it is the part of paroksha.
Okay. And why
I
do
don't.
you think so?
Yeah. So, like you said, I want to go into the meaning of paroksha, but the thing is, paroksha has nothing to do with what our sense organ or anything tells. It's just like, okay, if my mother says something, I will just believe her words. Especially like we have a lot of things which are customary or traditional that we follow. We don't question those things immediately, right? We just follow if somebody says, whether it is elder in the family or whether it is some other people, we just do what they say. So that is nothing to do with whether I believe it to be true or not. I might still go ahead and do it because somebody else is saying that it is good for me or it is supposed to be done that way.
Which
That
is
is how I
okay.
see.
No problem with that. That is not what we are discussing. The
No,
question
I
is,
understand. Like your question was, is Pratyaksha and Anumana part of Paroksha, right? So I don't believe that, because Pratyaksha is something that you understand through your sense organs. So if one of my sense organ is missing, my understanding won't be same as anybody else, or even I don't have to believe what somebody else tells me, right?
which is also perfectly fine. There is no argument about that.
Huh.
The word paroksha essentially means it is indirect. Aparoksha means it is direct.
Okay, but till now, how I was seeing it is paroksha is something which is being told by someone else. So
not
it doesn't
necessarily.
have to be
Not
part
necessarily.
of my...
The word paroksha means it is indirect. What are the means of indirect? Or told by somebody. Oh, I saw it by my own eyes. Oh, I remember, which is, something happened that day. So therefore, this must also be. It's essentially you're employing your senses or your memory, which is the part of the mind. But it is all indirect. You're employing something that is not directly with you. That is the essential meaning of paroksha.
Okay, but then my question is, then why was there a need to even mention the other two? Why can't it be just paroksha and aparoksha like Satyaji said?
Very good question.
Yeah.
So see, that is how we are inferring, right? Because you need to give clarity to, there is something that is intuitive and there is nothing else needed for that. But there is something else which we are gathering and we are analyzing when we are understanding. What are the ways by which we are doing? Anumana and Pratyaksha. Anumana is inference. Pratyaksha is by my own eyes. And there is also belief. What is belief fundamentally? Belief is nothing but, in a way, you are drawing, some kind of an inference or some kind of a conclusion based on what's been told to you. How was it told to you in the first place? It was told to you through one of your sense organs. Somebody showed a picture of a person wearing some kind of a dress and saying, bad person. So now, first time when it was told to you, you said, I only sensed it from my sense organs. I saw it. I saw the person attacking somebody. So therefore, it's a bad person. That memory is etched in my mind now. Now, next time, it's a belief. Now, that belief is now, very easy. I show a similar picture. Yeah, bad person. Why? Because the memory is there from the previous encounter. And now you are inferring based on the current encounter. But it is still indirect because it is based on either your senses or based on your memory. Is this making sense? Is this acceptable?
Yeah, I'm thinking, sir. I'm thinking. I still don't understand how can Anumana be part of Paroksha, because it can also, I mean, there is some evidence based on which I'm inferring something, right?
Yeah.
But for me, belief, okay, I think then I'll have to go into what I think of as belief, because belief is not, belief for me cannot be the absolute truth. It is always debatable, and like
Even
somebody else
inference,
said.
even inference cannot be absolute, no? Because that is why we learned earlier itself that our sense organs and our mind both are limited.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel that when it is an inference, I feel it is more like it is very logical. It is coming from the logical part. Like belief doesn't need any logic or any proof, right? It could be something which has been coming from like ages to ages, from person to person, like that. So
Fair, fair.
it
Your
could be
logic,
very,
you may have a logic, and your logic may be still limited. Example, they say what is the normal blood pressure? What is the normal blood sugar level? Now, how did they arrive at it? They did some clinical study, some kind of a statistical study, and they arrived at it. Now, is that the fact? Is that the truth? Not necessarily. You know, the clinical study was done on some sample set of people, and your specific body condition may be totally different. And yesterday night, what you ate, based on that today, so many variations. So if I study today's insulin level and blood sugar level, I cannot just directly jump to the conclusion it is incorrect, that there is a disease. It is logical. See, so much of logic has been put into place. You are given the idea that it is statistically done. There is so much of clinical study done. It's all so logical. That logic is again based on another Bible called as, they went to the medical school, they studied for 5 years. Whereas this belief is based on another Bible where, it's said in one word, and somebody called a father standing there and preaching the sermon. At the end of the day, you may have studied, if let's say you study the same Bible for 5 years and you say, you know what, I believe it totally. It's been said in the Bible. I've been saying it so many times. It's like the more you repeat something, it starts becoming a reality in your mind many a times, isn't it?
Correct.
You keep on telling yourself, I'm an ugly person, I'm an ugly person, I'm an ugly person. That starts sounding right. Everybody who talks to you, you seem to be thinking that, oh, they're looking at my ugliness. You started wearing that goggle.
Okay.
So what is the real difference then between Anumana and belief?
Not much. Yeah. Not much, because one has probably like written down evidences which we can see and which we are fed a lot of times, or fed again and again.
That written down thing again is manufactured.
Correct.
It may not be wrongly manufactured, but manufactured.
Yeah, agree.
So again, coming back to the fundamental point that Satyaji raised, is there only two fundamental ways of knowing?
Broadly, we classify under two: Paroksha and Aparoksha. Aparoksha is direct, and Paroksha is external.
Is indirect. Indirect. I mean, not necessarily external, indirect. Indirect means, you're employing some other tools to infer. So, is it acceptable?
In a way, Vijayji, anything indirect, as we have already still now studied, the mind, the body, the mind, intellect, which is not I, they all point to indirect ways. The mind conditioning, beliefs are the mind conditioning, and Anumana, inference is the mind's ability to analyze, and Pratyaksha is Pratyaksha, that means what you are seeing. that is through sense organs. And all this is the function of the mind. All memory, belief systems or conditioning, all this is the functions of the mind. And anyway, mind is anitya, always changing. So all these are like indirect experiences or indirect ways. So anyway, in fact, we have only two differences, Satya and Anitya. I mean, whatever
Nitya and
keeps
Anitya.
changing. Yeah, Nitya, Anitya. So that way, if you see, again, these two again can be classified as that only.
Yeah, Paroksha is something that is because of Anitya.
So the answer that comes from Paroksha can change, but the answer that comes from Aparoksha cannot change.
And now let us go a little deeper into that part. So, you said that Aparoksha is, in your last statement in T52, if you cannot experience Aparoksha Anubhuti, so you brought an aspect of experience in Aparoksha. So who is then experiencing and what is that is being experienced? Then is it that, experience by itself something that is external?
Yeah. So only with Vedanta we have been introduced to this concept of Atman, right? Outside this, for a common man, it's like the answer is like I am there. The I always includes the whole system. And for the question like, are you there? I am there. And how do you say you are there? Because I can feel myself, right? So now the question comes like, when you say you can feel, you can experience yourself, like there has to be somebody who is experiencing. And at that point, when we try to separate the experiencer from the experience, that is where the question of like, okay, then now this is becoming complex, right? Looks like I cannot answer this, or I cannot go beyond this. I think that is where I feel that the concept of this three yogas introduced to refine and like clear all the pre-existing belief-based knowledge.
Yeah, but the way you've written, again, maybe the way I am understanding could be wrong, is that Aparoksha Anubhuti, if you cannot experience Aparoksha Anubhuti, so now Aparoksha Anubhuti has become the Anubhuti, means what do you understand by Anubhuti?
Anubhuti is experience, right? Or
how do you understand
wrong?
Anubhuti?
Maybe you can say.
Anubhuti is nothing but simply sensations.
Is sensation
or
experience?
Kind of like
can you say
end result or a experience? Okay, or a perception. So perception, sensation, experience is all Anubhuti. So literally experiencing Aparoksha Anubhuti, it's saying experiencing the experience is what is being inferred in that statement.
Okay.
So the question I'm raising is, when we say the intuitive way of knowing is Aparoksha, it is intuitive. There is intuitive way of knowing, there is non-intuitive way of knowing. There is Paroksha way of knowing, there is Aparoksha way of knowing.
Intuition is again non-direct, isn't it? Intuition is like, I got the intuition that like it's something I right. It is again different from I am here answer, right? How can I know I am, I feel can be intuition? No.
Intuitive knowledge means it is self-evident. In that sense, I'm using the intuitive. Self-evident. No doubt.
Okay.
No need for pratyaksha, anumana, discussion, debate. I mean, just a very simple rudimentary example.
Okay.
Do I have a thumb? Yeah, I know I have a thumb. No doubt about it at all. Nobody has to come and prove me. I have a thumb. It is self-evident for me. Until I get introduced to Vedanta, and Vedanta says your sense are also wrong and your mind is also coloring. Then I wonder, oh, do I have a thumb or not? What I should call this. So till then, it is intuitive. It is self-evident. I don't have a doubt at all, right? So in that way is aparoksha, when we use the word aparoksha anubhuti, is that an experience, something to be experienced? Or is this being given only to point at there is intuitive knowing?
No, so the way what I wanted to mean is, if the answer to the question of like, are you there, and say like I am there, and how do you say that you are there? And if I use that, and if I say that I am there because I can feel myself, then is that the right right? So that is where I want to hold on to it. Like, are you giving the answer based on that feeling? If you take that feel is here now, but did you have that feeling before you got up? Did you have the feeling? I did not have the feeling. So that is where wanted to introduce that feel also comes and goes, right?
If it comes and
And
goes,
using that answer,
if it comes and goes, then it is part of the paroksha, no? Because what is coming and going is through the mind only, no?
yeah.
Sorry, Saravanan-ji, I didn't understand what feeling you're talking about. Like
The I feeling.
oh, means I am there. That thing that you're referring to.
Yeah, the feeling of I itself comes right now, like only when you wake up, right? So you're going to say that like I am there because like I can feel myself. Like even if somebody says you are not there, I'm going to just reject that argument, because I'm saying like I can feel. So I am there. So that based on that feel, I'm going to say.
No, but I don't think that comes and goes, right? It is always there, because you are only the knowing. Even if you are in deep sleep state, you are the one who's knowing that you are in the deep sleep state, right? You might not have the presence, feel the presence of your body, or maybe your mind is not working at that time, or rather you are not aware of it, but then the awareness is always there, right? That is why next day we say that, okay, you know what, I slept so well or whatever. But you are the knower there again. So how do you say that only when you are awake you are knowing that you are there?
So the feeling of I that Padmaji is referring to is, in the morning it starts reflecting in the reflecting surface called mind and body. The reflecting surface did not exist in the deep sleep, doesn't mean that the awareness did not exist. Awareness is constantly there. If the reflecting surface is there, it reflects. If there is no reflecting surface, there is no reflection. So we are taking the reflection as the feeling of I, which is also paroksha, because this particular point you made is, oh, in the morning when I wake up, I feel I. What are you feeling truly? You're feeling your own mind, your own presence of the body. Okay, Sarunji will also be back in a minute. Looks like something has caught his attention. Yes, Sarunji.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm back.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah. So what's your take on what Padmaji is saying?
Yeah. So just going back to what I'm trying to understand here, right? So the question is on the knowledge of self, who you are, right? And is I'm
Even
saying,
that knowledge,
hmm,
what you are now expressing, explaining, describing, contemplating, conceptualizing, at the expression level, it's all paroksha.
hmm,
Small baby doesn't use Vedanta.
that is aparoksha. Yeah.
There ends the matter.
Yes. Yes. Mm, yeah. There is no reason being given, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And even the faculty of language hasn't developed. So the very tool you are using to express is paroksha.
Mm, mm, mm. So okay. So coming back, so what are we trying to say then? Like I should be able to tell, or I should mm, I should stay in this knowledge that strongly, that like I am different from, I am not this body. That is where we are trying to introduce this approach, right? The my understanding of of the self, my discovery of the self has to be so strong that it is approach, like it is unwavering, like this is it, and
Yeah.
it should reflect. And if I know it that strongly, then all my actions has to be aligned to that.
Yeah. But see, the very fact that the knowing has to be strong means it's something that is not necessarily there. So that's why if you look at the prescription given of the yogas,
Yeah,
right?
the
Karma yoga.
knowing, because the reason I'm saying is there was an error,
Ah,
or that error is still there. I said there was, but even with the pointer by this question, the error is still not completely removed, because though I agree, but that because of the association of the body to me, it comes and goes, but it is still there. But if it is aparoksha, that it has to be like completely removed.
ah. There is no discussion, there is no debate.
Debate.
It is it that sat.
That's, yeah, right, right. So that is what, if I cannot be that, then I have to go through this karma yoga or bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, all to why to what was that, like why is that strong bond to the error?
Ah. So error correction program is yoga.
Yoga, correct, correct.
But
Now
error
I
correction
will,
doesn't give me something new.
yes,
Error correction only removes that's why the suit.
yes, yeah, perfect, yes.
So therefore, coming back is the way you have put it. If one cannot experience,
No, so I will rewrite it. I will rewrite it now. It is more of, if you know and if you still cannot live by that, then to remove the error correction, you will have to. The prescription is this.
In a way, aparoksha anubhuti is just being.
Being.
Just being is aparoksha anubhuti. So use the mind and keep the mind away. Because in order to function in the world, mind has to be used.
Yeah. So on this, like I also like the question that keeps coming to me every day. I want to bring up now. We keep saying maybe it may be slightly little off, but I want to still bring it up. I keep saying that, like I am the pure consciousness, right? But then when I say I am not this, I am that, then the identity cannot be there at all, right? This identity of Saravanan.
So to who is that instruction being given? You are not this and you are that. To the ego, which is connected with whatever it has gathered from the paroksha anubhuti. Even paroksha is a anubhuti. At the end of the day, paroksha is indirect perception. So what has happened is, in the mind, the ego has got connected to whatever has been collected in the mind. So it is like,
Yes.
if let's say ego were
The
to
wrong
be like
knowledge.
ego were to be an I, if ego were to be an I, E-Y-E, I, and it is looking at the knowledge collected here, which is the mind's knowledge. So that ego is now just being made aware of the aparoksha. And now when it reflects on the paroksha, it no more is connected to the paroksha. It uses the paroksha as necessary. You have gathered knowledge of, say, project management, you use it. You gather the knowledge of cooking, you use it. But no more there is a bonding. No more there is a, this is who I am, this is who I am. This is who I am. That error correction, for that error correction, this mantra, that you are not any of this and you are this. But that word is not who you are. Pure consciousness is a mere word by the construct of language. What does pure consciousness mean? Mind starts getting into imaginations, illusion. Pure means what? Pure as water. Oh, but sometimes I see things floating in water. Pure as what? Pure as God. Oh, then God is pure. I am impure. So see, various confusion by the mere word pure. What is?
Yeah, that's where Guruji says, do not stop at use the words, go beyond the words. Do not stop at the pointer. Use the pointer to go see beyond the pointer. Okay.
Yeah, whatever is the best pointer, it is still a pointer.
Pointer. If I keep that pointer as the reason, as the basis, then again it is limited.
Because then I'm still in the mind domain. Thinking, feeling, imagining, thinking, feeling, imagining. I may feel that I have read 10 Shastras and therefore my inference is very strong.
No. Even the Shastras then become the limitation for your anubhuti.
Any Shastra, any written statement is a limitation. But it is it's a kind of an unlimited, it opens the door to the unlimited. Some Shastras can open up the mind to unlimited. But as long as I am repeating the Shastra and using that to augment, it is non-intuitive. But for a little baby, which you were before the mind developed, it is intuitive. Now that intuitiveness has been masked.
Yeah, okay. So the pure consciousness, basically, just to connect all these dots, there is only Brahman, and Brahman's power is this Maya, right? Which put the body around the seed of Annamaya Kosha and others based on the Panchabhutas and this. And when the pure consciousness falls on the mind, and the reflection is what I am today, before the realization. And based on the purity of the mind, the reflection is like way off from the original. And the work is to basically clean that mind again so that the reflection becomes same as the source. And when it becomes the same, that is where we are saying, like, Jivan Mukta. Like you basically like the mind is not playing anymore. The mind is like it has to be still as well, in the sense that like it's not about like cleaning it once.
Yeah, you just
It has
realize that you're wearing a dress, and that has become now evident.
just become.
There is no more a doubt that okay, I am wearing this shirt, I remove, I wear, I remove, I wear. No doubt, no confusion,
Yeah.
error free.
Yeah, the three yoga thing, I clearly understand the error correction. It's like I know it, but I still, if my actions are not being aligned, then okay, there you go. Like what is
Yeah.
that? What is
Yeah.
that strong bone? Why are we?
Because
Why are we
yeah, because
unable to clean it?
there's a belief that self-realization is an experience. Because we've been fed by the society program that somebody sitting under the tree, suddenly light comes up, right? And suddenly somebody comes and says, what do you want?
No, it's
And they're crying. So
it's a gradual erasing. Yeah.
so there is a experience seeking, which is the error leading to path of yoga. How did the error come? Various society conditioning only.
Yes.
Society fed me that enlightenment is an event. It made it an event. Event means space and time. It's in some space and time. One day I will get enlightened. One day I will be Jivan Mukta. The very statement has put the mind into Desha and Kala Parimiti. Time and space limitations. So it is now on a continuous seeking. Oh, my first chakra is open, my third chakra is open, my seventh chakra is open, but still I see the limitations. Still it is not.
It is all again Anumana. It's like somebody say.
Yeah. And there can never be a true end to the experience seeking.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful story which I might have told from Papaji and Sri Ramana. Again, I don't know whether it is fact or not, but somewhere in one of his Ramana's books it is referred. Papaji is one of the ardent devotee of Ramana, and he went on to become a great realized master who helped many later. So Papaji, he had a kind of a feeling or a intuition that there is this great saint in Tiruvannamalai to whom you need to go and meet. Because one day, when he was going somewhere, he had seen somebody come and say that, the only person who can answer you is somebody in Tiruvannamalai. So he had never seen the photo of the Ramana Maharshi, he had never met, he had never seen any newspaper, but first time somebody told, all your questions can be answered only by Ramana. So he came to Ramana Maharshi, and apparently when he looks at that person, he becomes really totally puzzled. Arey, you are the same person who came and told me to come and meet you. So are you just self-promoting yourself? But the people around him told, Ramana has not left Tiruvannamalai for now many years. He has just been here. So that was the kind of the first, impactful experience he had, of like a out of the body experience, oh, somebody's, but still, he thought, okay, this must be some kind of a magic. But anyway, like that, many questions were going on. One of the very deep experiences Papaji used to have is, he used to play with Sri Krishna. So one day he was supposed to meet Ramana Maharshi, and he got delayed. Ramana Maharshi asked him, why are you delayed? Oh, I was playing with Sri Krishna. It was so divine, ecstatic, out of the world. Oh, wonderful. Very nice. Very nice. Where is your Krishna now? No, he disappeared. Just see, is it not a play of your mind? Papaji got very angry. How can you say Sri Krishna is a play of the mind? I see him. Like how Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was seeing and playing with Kalima until Totapuri came into his life. It was as true as I touch and feel my finger. What is there? Why are you telling me like this? Kind of a deep feeling. So he got very angry with Ramana Maharshi and upset and walked out. But he later on says somewhere that as that simple statement by Ramana took hold in his mind, suddenly some kind of opening happened. And apparently from that day, Sri Krishna stopped appearing.
Hmm. Because it cannot be coming and going. The true thing is always there. Yeah.
So experience helps to progress in the sense that, it builds the, what was a belief, converts it into faith. Belief gets into faith. Because faith is necessary. Because the mind which has been fed with conditioned information, for that all this is necessary.
Yeah. The true knowledge is something which remains same. Even this Sri Krishna coming would have made him happy, and like going would have given him a different experience. Change is also not, which means like it is not the permanent one, right? What is a permanent knowledge is that you are, like as you said, like just being without change. If something is changing, then like again you are looking for that up and down. There cannot be up and down. Yeah.
So self-realization is not an event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I feel like it's about like dropping those unwanted baggages and like making
That's all the
yourself
effort
lighter,
can be.
lighter, and at
The
one point
effort,
of time you don't
yeah.
have any baggage to pull you
Yeah.
down to samskara.
Yeah. Yeah. So the effort is only to drop the baggage. Effort is only in the domain of na iti. Effort is only in the domain of mind. Because it is a mind that is obstructing. In the sense that the collection and the wrong ideas is the obstruction. The only obstruction is the ideas, the thoughts, the feelings.
Yeah. Another way to tell Padmaji, this paroksha apraksha given is like where we have trouble dropping. Again, question: why are we carrying it? And the answer should not be from paroksha, because I have been told, because I have to, because this is how it is. It has to come aparoksha. Okay, the answer should come from me, or directly, without any reference to any external things. Then I think that is easy to drop baggage. What is holding up right now? The lot of things I do today is because of that. The external factors had. You have to do this. This is how it is. This is how the world. This is how you are expected. So all those are what, like adding on to the baggages, which is like the point is, like even after spending, let's say 2 years, even after hearing this, am I only hearing this? I am this. I am this. I am the pure consciousness. I am not this. Right? That has to move. It has to become a paroksha. That is, I think, that is where the whole highlight of this this talk segment is.
Yeah.
Do not stop at the words. It's not a mantra which will change. Right?
Because the essence of any mantra is when the mantra is ending. Essence of the mantra is not in the vibrations it is causing, because the vibrations are coming and going. All the vibrations, it may be divine, but where is it ending? where is it culminating?
Mm,
From where
what
did
is it taking to?
Where is it,
Is it?
from where did it originate and where is it culminating? So that beyond that is a pointer. Mantra transports.
Yeah, go beyond the words and like go for the essence of what it's trying to tell, or where where the mantra is trying to take us to. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, there is great clarity.
Satyaji, Padmaji, anything more to discuss on this topic?
No, sir.
Satyaji, anything from your side?
Nothing much, Vijayji. In fact, how Sharananji put it as, don't get stuck into the experiences. And all these experiences are just pointers, and we need to stay in the self. That means every experience will again show that the external factors are just external, and I am the self. So use every pointer, use the mind, and finally understand that I am the self, and totally abide in the self. So these practices are to abide in the self. Like initially we go out, come in, and finally we are fixed to that self. So by constant inquiry and by constant understand, slowly the ajnana is removed, and we are trying to abide, and there will be a point where we are totally there. I mean, again, it is not a journey, but it is a point where you understand neti, 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 and finally your every whatever you are dealing with, there are so many things that you have to do, and you are told that this is what you have to do, this is not what you have to do. You will do everything, but with a sense of non-doership, that it is a happening. So the moment that purity and clarity come in, I actually, Prabhuji was telling me that purity comes through service, and the clarity comes through jnana. So and this Purna Yoga, which he's teaching now, it is actually culminating the concept of whatever we are learning as jnana, application of that to our day-to-day life. That is yoga. So Purna Yoga is, something I really felt, we are understanding this maybe every Sunday or every day at 10 o'clock when Prabhuji is, teaching us something. We know, the mind knows. But again, application of the mind to the mind, what the mind knows, it is always driven by something else. So that application, bringing that to daily life is like abiding in the self. So constantly coming back, and somewhere you will. Yeah.
Satyaji, are you there?
Yeah, I cannot hear.
Okay. But wonderful.
Could you hear?
Come back and be silent.
comes and goes.
Could you hear Vijayji? I did
Yeah,
No, we
please
were
continue.
listening to the silence of Satyaji.
See,
Vijayji,
that is
can you
also
hear
not
me?
true. Only we cannot hear, but she might have been talking.
Satyaji,
I
yes.
can hear you, Satyaji, now.
Okay. Vijayji, you couldn't hear me?
When you said, constantly coming and
No,
going.
in
coming and
between
going,
there was a silence.
then suddenly there was a
Yeah.
silence.
Okay.
We
Now
were
I
talking
don't
about
even
silence.
I don't even know what I said. So
No. Most of it we got it. Only the last
okay.
10 seconds or 20 seconds.
Okay. No, it was just about the Purna Yoga, which Prabhu.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean,
So,
constantly.
yeah, on that lines, right? I've been thinking again on this, right? So now that I know this
Yeah.
is right. But then I see that the power of Maya is so strong. When something has to happen, it just happens, and I'm not there as even myself. Like it is something took me, got it done, and then like I realized that okay, so I would have, like, if I was aware, if I was conscious, would I will I do that, or like would I have, like, will I do it in this way? But then like it is committed, it's done, right? So that's where I keep coming back saying, okay, so that means like I'm still not able to it looks like the Maya is in action, the things are happening, and if I can slow it down, if I can start seeing it happening, maybe like I will be it will be very different. But today, like I'm not in that moment all the time, right? Not like the most, or like I would say like most of my, in the waking state, I'm not, it's very difficult for me to be in that moment, which basically means there is a lot of refining needs to be done to slow down, or like to limit the things that are entering through the senses, to be in this state, to be in the knowledge of the truth, or like to be in the truth, right?
In fact, Sharananji, I mean, the very fact that you are aware that you are not aware is surely a pointer. Like it is showing. I mean, previously maybe you did not even know that.
Yeah. Previously it was like the wind blowing, right? Wind blows a leaf, it just goes there, and then like direction changes, it goes there, right? But now I can see, but then like I'm thinking like, how come so many things happened, right? I am still learning all this. I am realizing that this is what it is, this is not the real, this is, but then like I feel that like can I control it? What is happening, can I control it? Because it is happening so fast, or like for like when an action happens, it's as if like I've been knocked off and that action happened through me.
Yeah. I mean, that is exactly what happens, right? I mean, all of us, initially we were thinking that, we are doing, I am the doer. And slowly we are now in a point where we are even able to observe. And just by observing, you are able to know that, did I do this? I mean, did I even really do all this? So all this is happening through me, through the body, mind, and intellect has been given, and through the whole energy that is flowing, and through the consciousness, that the presence of consciousness, all this is happening. So this slowly, when we start observing and realizing this fact, things get even more simple and clear. Now we will not be in a mood to even control.
because why control? I mean, is there
Mm.
control or should it be controlled?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what is there is there. What will happen is happening through us. The only thing is, at the given point of time, whatever best the mind feels or the mind gets the idea, and again, that idea is not by you. It is just getting a thought, and that is being done. That's all. So if we are observing all this as a third person, where like a picture on the movie screen, I think that clearly slowly puts us out of the whole stress or thinking or trying to control. That trying will be removed, and
Yeah, the reason why I said trying is after the act is committed, like these days, if I just reflect, like I don't necessarily approve all the things. It could have been avoided. It could have been like left, right? So more in the reflection mode. I am these days.
But you see, any judgment, however, whatever the action may have been, any judgment again perpetuates the cycle. So therefore, the only simple question can be, so in unawareness, something has been done. What is that I wish should have happened? Okay, so how can I be aware? So there's a constant simplification rather than getting into should have done, shouldn't have done, because that leaves a judgment, that leaves a impression. It is more of how to be aware and perform the action. Action in inaction, inaction in action. So I am awareness is easier to get from the Viveka.
Yeah.
I am awareness in the action, in the moment, is the liberation. Electricity has no affinity to fridge or fan or TV or wherever it is flowing.
It
just flows.
Yeah.
And doesn't ever get contaminated by the instrument through which it is flowing. So putting a aropa on the electricity, saying that, oh, you went through the, let's say, for example, there's an electrical instrument to cut something away and to harm somebody. Oh, you went through the instrument and you caused that harm, is a wrong inference. No? So if the instrument is right, then the electricity will produce the right result. This kind of brings the question, or the kind of the light to the question that Padmaji asked when you were away. How come there is so much of good and bad in the world? Electricity has no affinity to good and bad in the world. If you send the electricity through an instrument to cut, it will cut, because the function of the instrument is to cut. Electricity enables it. The same instrument can be used to cut away something that is unnecessary and to heal. The same instrument can be used to cut something and cause a harm. But electricity enabled it. But electricity was not contaminated by it. So good and bad is a judgment of the mind, again conditioned by the Paroksha Anubhuti.
Good and bad itself, the classification is coming from Paroksha.
Yeah. So therefore, what is Aparoksha? What is your inherent quality? Your inherent quality is that of peace, that of infinite, And that inherent quality in relation to world is love. You love. Love is deep, flowing from within. Love is not a taught feeling.
Unconditional.
Little child, nobody teaches a little baby, oh, now you need to love your mother. It is intuitive. Love is intuitive. It is unconditional. That is your true nature. So that love, that unconditional, that's why little children care for everything. Look at how they handle animals. Unless, somebody has taught them or maybe some impression is there, little children are very, very kind to animals. They care for everything. You say something, they care for it. They have no disturbing mentality. That is all something that comes up later. Therefore, in that little child's mind is the true way of living life. Which is to care for all, to be kind to all. But then, even in the, when you need to cut something, not out of inherent hate, but because for the whole, this particular thing has to modify. If this is, rotting, then this can come to the whole body. So then the whole body will be destroyed. So this has to be cut away. Not out of hatred for this. Because once when this is cut away, this gets an opportunity to transform back into something more meaningful and wonderful. Because when I cut this away and send it, it once again goes back to its constituent elements and reconstitutes as something else. So I'm not actually killing. I'm giving an opportunity for transformation. Does that make sense, Padmaji?
Yes, sir. But more questions are coming up now.
Yeah, go ahead. No, maybe it's already 8 o'clock.
Yeah. No, next week I will frame it and then maybe I'll send it to you before itself, because it is mostly related to the I am world. I am also the world.
Yeah.
Aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's another excellent Viveka.
Yeah, because right now also when you were explaining about the electricity and depending upon the instrument, that is what I was thinking. Like then why is how is the instrument getting corrupted? If it is because of the conditionings, and if I am the world, then who is responsible? Can I even say that it is coming? Conditioning is because of say XYZ, or say my parents or my society. I cannot say that, right? Because I am only the world.
Goes back to Paroksha or Aproksha.
No, it is like this. The small baby is totally innocent. Small baby has not yet developed the Viveka of the world. Small baby is totally innocent. To a small baby, you show sky and say that is where God lives. Small baby accepts that. There is no resistance in the mind. Accepts it. It is like Bole Shankar. Shiva is said to be Bolenath. Bolenath because he's constantly is in a Tathastu mode. Give me money, Tathastu. Kill that person, Tathastu. Help that person, Tathastu. He has no judgment. But the Tathastu will cause material changes, and the one who is connected to the material will go through the material changes, the fluctuations of the material. So that is the Jivatma. The Jivatma feels, I am the material. But Jivatma is Bholenath. And for that right viveka to even shine in the mind has to first drop the association to the actions which cause all this disturbance. Because the more the mind is connected to, I need this, I want that, I am better, I am stronger, the impression, the vibrations of those are so strong that it will not lead you to listen to Sri Krishna, no? That was our yesterday's Gita shloka. Sri Krishna says, some cannot listen to me because they're so earth bound, meaning they're so material bound. When the material, and then the natural question comes, oh, then why all this Maya? Why Bholenath had to do all this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Why the world? Why Brahman wants to do all this?
So,
And you can't go back, right? Just it's like,
that's
okay,
why-
you go back. How I made you, you are not like that. So go back and come back to me the way I sent you. So again,
see, that's once again the logic
like
of
a
an
very
adult
big
mind.
game he's playing.
That's once again the logic of an adult mind. A small baby doesn't even have that question, why the world? The world is so wonderful, I say. There is laddu to eat, there is flower, there is butterfly, there is water, there is...
No cholesterol, sugar, diabetes. Thinking.
So that baby finds the world, wow, wow, wow. What a beautiful and creative existence. The power of the self is this beauty. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Creativity.
True.
So for the child, small baby, this question is, why are you there? Ayo, I want to run, jump. Ask a small baby, 7-year, 8-year-old to come to this Vedanta study circle. Some, whose mind may be a little more mature may want to. Otherwise, he's all, why? World is wonderful. Yeah, world is wonderful. Come to the garden. Let's put a seed. Let's see how nice this worm is. Wow. There is a constant wow for a baby. So you ask a baby, is the world good or bad? Oh, wonderful world. Where is sadness? Go back to your own childhood. Until the mind developed, which kind of made you to segregate, for you there was oneness. Hello? Padmaji, are you there?
Yeah, yes, sir. I think Saravananji's screen again froze. No?
Yeah, Saravananji froze.
Yeah.
So that's the, if at all one wants to symbolically think about it, the wonderful garden was that. And when you ate the apple, means you became connected to the teachings of the world, of the society, is when you fell from the status of that divine feeling. So from the Advaita, which is the inherent nature, you got connected to the world and Dvaita started happening. I and you. So therefore there is no question of good and bad.
Correct. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And also I think, sir, what Saravananji was telling, like he thinks about what happened. I feel that is there really a choice in what is happening? Not much, right? Some things, what has happened, or it was supposed to happen only that way. is how I see now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Water gone past cannot be modified. Time gone past cannot be modified.
Yeah.
That will come based on the confluence of what is happening. Is there a control of even what is happening? By the time you think you're controlling, the moment has slipped into another moment.
Yeah.
So it's an illusion to say that there is something to control.
Yeah. There is absolutely no control. Yeah, that is true.
But
and also I feel when
the intention but the feeling or the intention guides the movement.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And I think that when we think about, when we keep reflecting, we are mostly living in the past, or we are procrastinating about the future, like what could happen, what could I change, and all that. Yeah. I think that is when we lose the being in the moment.
Yeah. All right. So shall we end our today's session? Can we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Padmaji, prayers.
Yeah. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead me from untruth to truth, darkness to light, impermanence to permanence. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. That is complete. This is complete. When completeness is removed from completeness, what remains is complete. When completeness is added to completeness, totality remains complete. Om, peace, peace, peace. Nanu, nanenbadu, nanalla, ideha, manabuddhi, nanalla, sachidanandatma, shivananu nane, shivoham, shivoham, shivoham. I am not the body, mind, intellect. I am pure consciousness. Shiva Swarupi. Atmadarshanam, Brahmadarshanam, Brahmadarshanam, Satyadarshanam. Recognition of self is recognition of the whole. Recognition of the whole is the truth. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat. We worship the three-eyed one, who is fragrant and who nourishes all. Like the fruit falls off from the bondage of the stem, may we be liberated from death, from mortality. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Padmaji. Thank you very much. So we'll resume our satsang next Sunday. Thank you all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hari Om, sir. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.